Hi, I'm Lucy Stevens, owner of the Weaver Clinic. So it's Whiteboard Wednesday today, exciting stuff. Now today we're concentrating on a question from our Facebook group. Does our blood type really affect what food we eat? Now the blood type diet basically suggests that there are certain foods a particular blood type can eat and some foods it can't. What I want to show you today is that whilst there may be some association with our blood type and the types of foods we seem to do best on, the science doesn't really show that the two are directly linked, i.e. blood type doesn't equal food choice. Now I'm going to use two examples, dairy and starch or carbs, to explain what I mean. So first, here's a very basic background of human evolution to have a quick look at my horrendous drawing of Africa. We had small groups that moved in different directions out of Africa over evolution. So on these routes out of Africa, these humans would have encountered lots of different conditions. So we've got changes in temperature, food shortages, different types of food sources from what they were used to eating. And the ones that were able to survive these conditions are the ones that managed to adapt their genes to this new environment so that they could eat the different food or survive these changes in temperature. So think of our genes just like a book. Whilst all humans have a similar book, how you turn the pages of that book can be totally different. And this determines which of our genes are used or not used. Okay, so the blood type diet states that certain blood types can't eat dairy and others can. So having a look at this, originally humans lost the ability to digest milk after weaning. But from about 8,000 to 9,000 years ago, when humans started to domesticate cattle, we start to see changes in the pages of our book of genes. And some people began to retain the ability to digest milk into adulthood. Why was that? Well, perhaps due to the need. So Northern Europe, for example, had a lot less sun than we were used to in Africa. So vitamin D from milk would have helped us to maintain strong bones. Also, certain food shortages would have left us lacking nutrition. So if we could drink the milk in our environment, it would have saved a number of people from starvation. Other studies show that milk offered protection against some strains of malaria even. So digestion of milk was necessary for survival at that time. Some people today have still maintained the ability to digest milk, but others haven't. So they get bloated or have gut trouble when they eat dairy. Northern Europe happens to have a high amount of people that can tolerate dairy, more so than, say, Asia. But is that actually related to our blood type? Not necessarily, because migration is likely to have led to clusters of similar blood types in the same location. And these people will have been in the same environment and so will have got the similar changes in their genes, i.e. the ability to digest milk. So this makes maybe a link between blood type and what you can eat, but we can't necessarily say one 100% equals the other. Okay, so let's look at another example. The blood type diet also says that some people need more or less vegetables or grain carbohydrates or starch than others. So let's start with evolution again. We all evolved eating the same diet. We would have had a gut full of bacteria to help us digest our food. Certain bacteria are better than others at breaking down different types of food, so we have a right old mix in there. Now again, as we moved out of Africa, we would have encountered different types of food, and hence our gut bacteria will have had to change to reflect that, because we need different bacteria to break down different food. Now if we study the guts, for example, of different continents, so an African and a European, and compare their guts, we can find massive differences in the bacteria there. There's that old saying, show me your gut bacteria and I'll tell you what you eat. So is it the blood type that determines what we digest? Or could it be changes in our gut bacteria based on the foods that we eat in our environment? Now we can also see variation in people's book of genes that show differences in terms of how well they digest carbs or starch and how well their body uses those carbs once they've eaten. Because of this, some people do better eating more carbs than others. Equally, other people are better at using protein. So again, perhaps it's simply that we've had people with the same blood type migrating into similar locations, different environments, so they've had the same changes in their genes, i.e. the example to better use carbs. So the science really is still out on the blood type diet. Any blood type diet is more probably to do with evolutionary changes in our genes and our gut bacteria. And let's not forget as well, there's lots of different factors that impact on our ability to digest different foods. So my suggestion for what you should eat always starts with what we are originally genetically designed for, which is an evolutionary style of eating. So lean meat, fish, eggs, nuts as your protein source, vegetables and some fruits with occasional honey, and olive oil. Not strictly evolutionary because we had to make it, but good for you nonetheless. Now within those groups, you can play around with the quantities to work out if you feel better with a bit more protein in your diet or a bit more carbohydrates, a bit more or less fat. And also taking probiotics and digestive enzymes can initially help if you're finding you're not digesting certain food groups that well. So in the meantime, I hope that was interesting. Keep asking questions and post any thoughts underneath this video. And I'll see you next Wednesday.